The Los Angeles Rams finished the job on the San Francisco 49ers in Week 15 to kick off the schedule. We're making picks for the rest of the games coming at you right now.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Appreciate the everydayers. We see you. Make sure you subscribe, though, on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. There's everyday listeners that still aren't subscribed to the show. And welcome to all the new listeners as well. This episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And right now, a big return because all you got to do is play and win your first $5 bet, and you get $150 in bonus bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. So an interesting start to Week 15, and we had a rainy one in Santa Clara as the San Francisco 49ers lose to the Los Angeles Rams 12-6, the second lowest scoring game of the season. I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago. It was Jags and Tennessee, where it was like 10-6 or something like that. So second lowest scoring output of the season. Matt, these two teams combined for over 80 points of offense last week and couldn't muster a touchdown. In a little bit of rain, it was wet, but I live in the same area. I saw the same storm. I was outside a little bit, and it was raining and it was wet, but it wasn't a monsoon out there or anything like that. And so some rough offense and maybe a little bit of good defense mixed in. The kickers were excellent, though. 6 for 6 on kicks, right? Cardi was 4 for 4 player of the game, 2 for 2 for Jake Moody on the other side. There's a lot of takeaways, though, in this game. And what's funny is even post-game, because I went live with my guy Eric Crocker on Locked On 49ers. For those of you 49ers fans out there, make sure you subscribe to Locked On 49ers daily here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I know a lot of you listen to both of our shows here.
Sure.
And we went live talking about the game and didn't even know that maybe the biggest story, and for sure what's going to be the biggest story today now about that game, and really gets a lot of players off the hook, like Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel, that would probably be catching all the ire from 49ers fans right now. De'Vondre Campbell completely quit on the football team.
On the sidelines, right? Like during the game.
He walked away, said, I'm not going in the game. He had his uniform on, presumably upset that Dre Greenlaw got his old job back, coming back from injury, who was one of the best players on the field last night for either team, by the way, in Dre Greenlaw. Yeah. He was awesome for the San Francisco 49ers. And then he gets banged up a little bit, and the 49ers want to be smart. They want to be cautious. He's coming back in his first action from a torn Achilles that happened in the Super Bowl last year. And you know that those kind of injuries can happen. You're favoring one side, and then you hurt the other side of your body. And he said his knee felt a little weird. So they kept him out, and they took his helmet away from him. De'Vondre Campbell at that point didn't want to go back in the game to replace him and didn't want to play and left and bailed on his team. His teammates in the locker room after the game had some pretty pointed comments about him, calling him a sucker. Some people talked about how he's probably going to get cut anyway. That was stupid and dumb and embarrassing, and all of these things. So the teammates didn't like it. Coach Kyle Shanahan obviously didn't like it, and it's going to take some of the pressure off of guys like Brock Purdy and Deebo Samuel that didn't play well in the 49ers offense, because you hold a team to 12 points and you're the San Francisco 49ers offense. You got to be able to come up with something, and the 49ers could not. That was the big story on the field. The 49ers offense didn't do their job, and they weren't able to save their season. So the 49ers still mathematically in it. They're out of it now in the NFC West.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're closer to this than I am, but I mean, the Campbell stuff just adds to the weirdness, obstacles of, I don't even call it a Super Bowl hangover, but just not your year. I mean, just everything that could go wrong went wrong. I would not be worried if I was a Niners fan. We'll see how the offseason goes, that they'll be able to rebound and be a contender again next year, unless Trent Williams retires and Debo's gone. I mean, there could be changes. Who knows? But I mean, they're still going to be a quality organization and should be in the hunt. I'm kind of just brushing it off to not your year. And I don't do that often with these teams.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think the key here was kind of lost in the trenches when the Niners had the ball. I think that young defensive line for the Rams played really well. And no running game. Conditions had something to do with it. It seemed like there were a lot of drops in this game by both teams, probably more than there should have been. So the team that ran the ball better, especially late in the game, kind of pulled away.
Yeah, Kyren Williams. By the way, Kyren Williams so impressive as a pass protector too, and his ability to chip and the way he plays. You can see why the Rams really love him and why Sean McVay doesn't want to take him off the field. And neither team was hugely successful in the run game. I think Isaac Guerendo and Kyren Williams had very similar yards per carry, 3.5 yards per carry or so. But really, once the Rams got the lead late, they were just trying to play keep away, trying to shorten the game, and just kept handing it off. And they were able to get down the field enough. They had one huge drive to end the third quarter and start the fourth quarter that ended in a field goal. That was a 17-play drive. It only went 60-something yards. 17-play drive for the Rams that took 9 minutes and 45 seconds off of the clock and ended in points. Pulled the ball away from the Niners, and the Niners, when they got the ball back, weren't able to do anything with it. And obviously,
usually the Niners doing that to teams,
right? Yeah, and
leading them out,
And I think you're right, because I'd been somewhat critical of the Rams defense. Obviously, they allowed 42 points last week, and there's been some games where they weren't really good at stopping the run, even though their young defensive line was, coming along and creating some pass rush. But they came to play in this one, and they met the challenge against the 49ers run game. And really, the 49ers couldn't throw their way out of it either, because Brock Purdy, and we've seen this in the past. There was a game last year in Cleveland in the rain. Brock Purdy doesn't throw the ball well in the rain.
I remember that.
It's absolutely a thing. And he missed a lot of throws. And then when he made throws, guys couldn't make plays on the ball. Deebo Samuel dropped what probably was a touchdown. Maybe the 49ers win that game if he catches that ball. And at the end of the game, a microcosm of the whole 49ers season is you're at the 50-yard line. Nice little return from Deebo Samuel. And by the way, the big thing with Deebo Samuel and why he would draw, so much from the fan base is that he was talking this week about how he needs to get the ball more, and he's, that dude. And then asked about it at his locker, and he doubles down on it. He's like, I wrote what I wrote, and then he comes out there and has 3 yards on 2 carries and 3 catches for 15 yards on 7 targets. You know what I mean? And like he was, and Kyle Shanahan leaned into it, featured him early in the game, and then he dropped a play that could have been a game winner potentially for the 49ers.
And I know it's a small thing, BP, but even like the last kickoff, I'm going to take it back to the house. I'm Deebo Samuel, and I'm sitting there thinking, just kneel on it instead of eating clock. You might get one more play.
Really good, because they got the ball to midfield because there was
wasn't bad,
the horse collar on top of it. So that actually helped. But then right after that, what happens? Brock Purdy airmails a throw, misses a throw, like by a lot that could have gotten them a little bit closer. And then they can't even get off, which was my point about the microcosm of the season. They can't even get off a throw for a Hail Mary.
Don't even get the play off.
He gets sacked. Can't even make a throw to hope something happens. Somebody tips the ball somewhere. And so really just a poor effort from the 49ers on the offensive side of the ball specifically. And then you have the De'Vondre, like people quitting on you too. So when you said, you can kind of, it's a season where you can say, there was so many injuries. One of those years, a bad year, and, come back and get them next year. And the 49ers went through something very similar. So many similarities to the 2024 season, to the 2020 season for the San Francisco 49ers, where they came off a Super Bowl and it was a revenge tour. Let's go back and win it. And then everyone was hurt. And then it was just a bad year. And they ended up with the 12th pick in the draft and traded up for Trey Lance, and they wanted to raise the ceiling at quarterback, right? And now this offseason, they have a bad year. They will probably be picking in the middle, in the teens somewhere potentially in the draft, and they have a decision to make at quarterback with Brock Purdy. And so there's so many similarities to the 2024 season. The one thing I would point to, though, with Kyle Shanahan is now it's been a long time, and just because you have a bad season after going to the NFC Championship every year, you don't fire your head coach, right?
Sure.
But there was, there was the Deebo Samuel incident on the sideline with the long snapper, and they had a little shoving match, and you got players quitting on you. You do start, like, if you're losing the locker room and maybe the message is stale, and he's so much different than a guy like Mike Tomlin that has so much staying power, because Tomlin is a mentor. Kyle is a professor. Kyle is a teacher.
Yeah.
He's not a rah-rah guy. He's not a put your arm around you guy. And And so maybe that's where you would look at Kyle Shanahan and say, okay, well, is this edition of the 49ers over? And have you
step
lost
one of it running its course?
Right. Have you lost the locker room would be a big one. And I don't know if he necessarily has. And there's but we'll see what happens with the De'Vondre Campbell situation. But really just an unbelievably bad season for the 49ers. And
awful things like players losing children. Like that, really terrible things, right.
And that's what Kittle said that without kind of saying that after the game about De'Vondre Campbell. He's like, what is your problem that you quit on the team and these other guys didn't, that are going much more off the field? So really bad all around for the San Francisco 49ers. And when you point to the offense, you look at Kyle Shanahan, you're like, the must-win game to end your season, 6 points is all you guys could muster on that side of the ball. Okay. And tough way to go out for the San Francisco 49ers, and huge win for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah. And big picture stuff, I've really doubted the Rams defense too, but that front is legit, and that is a problem. And I've been saying it all year, and we don't always get it, but when Puka, Kupp, Kyron, and Stafford are out there, it's one of the best offenses in the league. I know they didn't put up a ton of points, but they're I'm thinking big picture, if they get in the playoffs, that kind of thing. They're a dangerous team with McVay and Stafford and that offense, and the defensive line. I mean, they can hang. You talked about this before the game. It's going to be mock draft Monday if they lose for the Niners, which I think it is. Some point in the offseason, we need to do a study, or I'm sure somebody did, but you opened the show by saying, this game was points galore the first time around. So many times division games go like the polar opposite the second time these teams meet, no matter what division it is. I'm sure somebody's done a study, and I think that's interesting.
They either both score a lot or both score a little. It's just one of those things. Yeah, no, you're totally right about that. And Stafford tried to throw the game away. He threw 3 or 4 balls that could have been picked off. 2 went off 49ers defenders' hands, and they could not catch the ball. We might be talking about this game a lot differently, but the Rams winning 7 of their last 9, and they made a couple more plays, which is all it took in this game. The 49ers did not make plays. The Rams looking good, still control their destiny, by the way, in the NFC West, and we might be looking at that Rams-Seahawks Week 18 matchup for the West, and winner doesn't make the playoffs at all. Although the Rams
can't control your destiny, BP. You can control your fate.
Oh, right. Excuse me. I know that, the destiny is already written. You can control. Yep. There we go. Okay. It's fate controlling time for the Rams and the Seahawks here, and we'll get to that Seahawks game. A good matchup there. Packers, Seahawks, Steagles, the old Steagles,
the old Steagles. Yeah.
Bills, Lions as well. All the picks for Week 15 next. This episode of Locked On the Locked On Podcast Network. This is not Locked On anything. This is called the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. And this episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. It's a fantastic gift. I know if I have a gift of steaks, I am super excited about it as a gift receiver. And if you are the gift giver, nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtful, curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites, legendary steaks, mouth-watering desserts, and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. That's omahasteaks.com. And an extra $30 off that 50% with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. Here we go. We're making picks for Week 15 minus our 6-pack of picks, which actually I think ended up being a 5-pack of picks this week. Let's go to Cleveland and start with the early game.
Real quick. I think we picked Ravens-Giants, right?
We did. Yes.
That one went up to 17, and now it's down to 16.5. Remember we were saying, like, it can't be a big enough number. Well, it's just, like, exponentially growing by the day from what I understand.
So, but we locked in 14
we locked in. Yeah, we got the bet in.
You talked me into that. If at 16, 17, I might want to go the other way though. But I'm okay with the 14.5. We picked what we picked. The Kansas City Chiefs are favored on the road at the Cleveland Browns by 4 points here. The 12-1 Chiefs at the 3-10 Browns.
I'd be a little worried if I'm the Chiefs. I think this is a dangerous spot. I don't know weather, but I know there'll be some weather in Cleveland on December 15th or whatever. Not that that's a huge deal, but it's just an equalizer. The Browns are dangerous. They have nothing to lose. If you get the bad Winston and the good Winston and the good Garrett, and the Chiefs don't blow anybody out, and it's over a field goal, I want the Brownies. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm just saying they're going to hang around.
Hollywood Brown about to get activated as well.
Yeah.
His practice will open to the Kansas City Chiefs here. I don't know if he'll be back for this week yet, but things are trending in that direction for Hollywood Brown, which will help the Kansas City Chiefs offense, and they can use a little bit of help, right? By the way, it is raining currently in Cleveland. I'm trying to find what it's going to look like later on in the week, and I mean, it's Cleveland, Ohio.
Sure, there'll be something. It's right off the lake,
Beautiful. There's no palm trees over there.
No, it's on no Oasis.
So I'm still. You got to take the Chiefs. I think this is a good home dog situation. I wouldn't fight you if you went that way. You are taking the Browns?
I like the Brownies. Yeah, over a field goal, sloppy possible game. Yeah.
Not a bad bet. I'm going to go the other way though and go with the Kansas
Really
City Chiefs.
dislike the Chiefs. Really dislike the Chiefs tackles versus Garrett.
That's a great one. And the Chiefs they're 12-1. They might be one of the worst teams in the league in covering the number this year.
Yeah, Aaron Schatz put out a something about they're the worst 12-1 team in DVOA history or whatever. It's a good problem to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You might be talking.
But no, I bet they're terrible against the spread this year.
You brought up the Garrett point too. Garrett against bad tackles in possibly sloppy conditions. 4 points. Is this one that might grow and you get a little extra couple points later on in the weekend? I don't know. I'm gonna jump to your side. You talked me into another pick this week, and I don't want to let you come back on me. I'm playing a little defense here.
You're playing
strategically because we're really tight with our picks this year. Shout out to the listeners who are keeping track for us.
It's pretty cool.
I'm going to take the points home dog Cleveland Browns. I think that is a smarter bet. You're right.
Okay.
Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. Bengals favored by 5.5 on the road.
I'll take the points. Home dog, good defense, but I don't think they'll win. I think Burrow versus Levis is kind of the nuts and bolts of this thing. I just think that's a pretty big number for the Bengals on the road against anybody with their defense.
I think we already picked that game. Did we pick that game in the 6th?
I thought so. I wasn't certain.
All right, so we'll leave that one there. We did pick that one. I forgot. That was 2 days ago now because we recorded it early on Wednesday. We got the Washington Commanders at 8-5 at the New Orleans Saints at 5-8. Washington favored by 8. Another home dog situation here.
Yeah, I don't love the number, but I also cannot bet on Jake Haener. I mean, he's going to be the quarterback. Wig and I were just laughing, calling him high school Haener. I mean, I think he looks like a high school quarterback to me. I'm going to take Washington.
There's a reason he was not a highly recruited player in college, and scrappy, and there's a lot to like about him, and the fact that they went to him, then they went to Rattler so quickly, but now they're going back to him, which is a little bit curious. Is Rattler hurt or something? Or
he was terrible when he was in there, but you'd think at least maybe he has more of a future. I don't know. Didn't
Rattler get 2 games and was okay the first game and then bad the second game? But
that could be true. That could be true.
He got it. So I don't know. Either way, 8
Neither one's great.
I don't like this game because it's too many points, but I got to go Commanders on this one.
Yeah, too much points for the home team, but I would pick the Commanders.
We've got the Miami Dolphins at the Houston Texans here. 6-7 Dolphins at the 8-5 Texans. Houston favored by 3 points at home.
They just let go of Odell. I don't think that moves the needle at all, but that's kind of the news of the day, along with your De'Vondre Campbell mess. So I got a little bit of a theory that the Texans and Ravens in particular are going to really benefit from this extremely late bye, because they're like the 2 most penalized teams in the league. Like they're good. They have good players. Like Houston can't pick up a blitz. Well, what do you think they did for the last 2 weeks? Blitz protection. The Ravens are blowing coverages left and right. Well, what do you think they did for the last 2 weeks? And cut down on the penalties. So I think at least one of those two teams gains a lot of momentum going into the playoffs, and I'm going to take the Texans at home.
I'm going to take the points and take the Miami Dolphins because I think this game is close enough and could go a lot of ways. And the Dolphins are playing better football right now, and the Texans have just been kind of teetering on the end, on the precipice of being kind of mediocre and then kind of good. And so I'm going to take the points here because I think this is a game that it's kind of like the Thursday night game where it's like this game's too close that I just want to take the points.
I understand. I think Miami is playing better right now.
Yeah. We got some really good games that we're going to get to next here in the final segment, but this one's a sneaky, really good game here too with the Denver Broncos who are hosting the Indianapolis Colts. It's the 6-7 Colts at the 8-5 Broncos. Denver favored by 4 points at home.
Yeah, so I just heard this right before we hit record. I thought it's crazy because you know how some of these, ESPN advanced stats or next gen, they do playoff odds and what's the biggest game of the week for playoff situation. You wouldn't think it's this one. But it is. And here's the reason why is if the Colts lose, they're basically out of it because they're fighting Denver to get to that 7 spot. But the thing is, it's not so much who wins and loses. It's that Denver, if they lose this game, they then go to the Chargers, then they go to the Bengals, then they host the Chiefs. Like they could go 0-4, where Indy is the total opposite. If they can win this game, they host the Titans, go to the Giants, host the Jags. Like they could go 4-0. So they have such different schedules going forward that both these teams need this desperately. I'm going to take the points.
Okay, taking the Colts and the points on the road. I'm going to go with Denver. I'm going to take Denver. And squashing those hopes. You laid it out there, and I'm kind of rooting for the Colts just because I think that would be more interesting.
That'd be fun,
yeah. If a team could come from 2 games back, because again, the Colts are 6-7 right now, and they would need to have a 2-game advantage on those Broncos. I don't know what the tiebreakers are immediately offhand, but I'm going to go Broncos.
Conference record immediately, but still, I mean, if they go 4-0 and Denver goes 0-4, well, I'm
rooting for it. Chaos.
That'd be fun.
And a lot of times you can bet along with chaos in the NFL, and you'll be right. Okay, we'll finish up with some really good ones. We got Bills at Lions, we got Steelers at Eagles, and we've got some seed-worthy football on Sunday night with the Packers at the Seahawks. Next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action right now with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. No shortage of ways to bet on the NFL. Postseason awards, weekly lines, obviously, and all the lines we reference on this episode and every episode of Peacock and Williamson come from our friends at FanDuel. Weekly props, live bets, NBA, NHL, every sport imaginable. You can get in on all the action at FanDuel and those tasty draft props as well. More and more draft props to come, which is my favorite way to bet on this league on FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today or download the app and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Let's go to Detroit, Matt. And it is the Bills at Lions. Bills coming off their first loss in a while against the Rams last week, and they are at the 12-1 Detroit Lions. Game of the week here. This is going to be a fun one. Can the Bills bounce back? Detroit favored by just 2.5 points at home.
Can't wait. I really do think there's a pretty strong chance that they play again. That this could be a Super Bowl preview. Those are the two teams I would pick out of their respective conferences right now. My concern for the Bills in this one, though, is while they've gotten much more physical and Buffalo-esque on offense, they're still a nickel defense with a lot of finesse speed type players. And I think the Lions O-line and running game in their building that'll be going insane is going to be too much for the Bills defense to handle physically.
I'm with you. I love that this is in the dome for the Lions, and if this was in Buffalo, I might go the other way. But 2.5, I do think the Lions can win this one by a field goal. It could be a field goal game, should be a close game. So I am going to give up the 2.5 points and take the Detroit Lions in this game against the Buffalo Bills. I just think the Lions are still a little bit more complete right now, even though they are a banged up unit on defense. And who knows, maybe more fireworks than we see one of those, 80-point football games like I saw last week. It should be good either way, and we'll see if Josh Allen can strengthen his case for NFL MVP this year and go to Detroit and pull off a win against what most people think is the best team in the NFL this year.
Yep, that's gonna be a fun one though.
The Steelers at Philadelphia Eagles. 10-3 Steelers, 11-2 Eagles. Philly favored by 5.5 points. Nice little spread there for the Eagles at home against a team that played really good football this year in Pittsburgh.
So I've got so much on this one, but the Steelers have won in every city in the NFL since the Super Bowl era, except Philadelphia. The last time they won in Philly was 1965. I wasn't even born. Isn't that insane?
That is insane.
It's insane. 1965 is their last win in Philadelphia. Everyone I know around the team doesn't even remember it. Like way before Chuck Noll. This is crazy.
So this is Steelers Eagles. They're in opposite conferences, and so they only play once every 4 years. But still,
I mean, they've both been around a long time, and they were the best team in the 70s, and they've been a good football team. They just never win there. They don't win in preseason there. They don't win in exhibition games. They don't win wiffle ball contests, whatever it is. We've been joking all week. But Russell Wilson, 6-0 against the Eagles in his career, 4-0 in their building. I'm still taking the Eagles big in this one, honestly. No George Pickens. Mike Tomlin, this thing up and block a punt and win 13-12 and muck it up. And I don't really like how Hurts is playing. I just don't think the Steelers can keep up on the scoreboard without Pickens. They have no weapons.
Yeah, they won without Pickens last week.
They did, but this team's really good.
Yeah, it's a different football team. I think that's a lot of points. I think this can be a close game. I think it can be an ugly game. I think the Steelers can. I think the Steelers are getting better quarterback play. Oddly enough, I wouldn't have thought I'd be saying that about Russell Wilson and Jalen Hurts not that long ago. So I think it's a lot of points. It's enough points for me to take the Pittsburgh Steelers and keep this one at least somewhat close and not be an Eagles blowout. But I would pick the Eagles straight up, and I understand why the Eagles are favored and should be favored at home against the Steelers in this game.
I picked a 27-17 Eagles.
The Cardinals, they're kind of in a similar place to 49ers. They're just about out of it, but this is a very winnable game. And if they want to try to keep things going and hope for a miracle in the NFC West, they've been going the opposite direction, though, that the Los Angeles Rams have been going. The 6-7 Cardinals are hosting the 3-10 Patriots, one you got to have if you're Arizona, and they're favored by 6 at home.
If it was over a touchdown, I'll take the Patriots, but long road trip. The Cardinals still have a lot more weapons and talent. I'm going to take the Cards at home.
Yep, same here. Taking the Cards at home, giving up 6 points. We got some good ones here in the late slate in the afternoon and evening. Let's go Buccaneers, Chargers, the 7-6 Bucks at the 8-5 Chargers. Really important game for the Buccaneers. Is it more important for the Bucks than the Chargers? I think it is, even though the Chargers are trying to keep place and keep some seeding there in the AFC side of things. It's win the division or go home, I think, in the NFC South. And the Bucks need to stay a game ahead. They can't tie with the Falcons because of head-to-head. And the Chargers are favored by 3 at home in this one.
Yeah, I agree with all that. It is more important to the Bucks. I think it's important for us and the media and the public perception of these two teams. If one of these guys wins handily, like, ooh, that's kind of a statement game. Bucks have the better O-line. I actually think they're the more or as physical, top to bottom, and they're getting points at a place that's not hard to play. I'll take the Bucks here.
Yeah, I think it could potentially be a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
Can the Bucks stop the Chargers' run game, and can the Bucks maybe hit a couple of shots and a couple of aggressive Baker Mayfield throws is the way I see this going. So I'm going to take the points. I'd probably take the points either way on this one. Not super worried about the trip. It is a long flight, but might be a lot of Bucks fans there in LA as well. So give me the points. Give me the points here with the Bucs. And we've got the Packers at the Seahawks Sunday night. Green Bay on the road, favored by 2.5.
I'm taking the points at home here. I know some people have corrected us, that Seattle's not as hard a place to play as you think, and the numbers bear that out. But I still don't think that's a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination. And frankly, I'm just loving how Seattle's defense is playing lately. I think that's maybe the best unit of the group. And you're going to get points at home in a game that they really need. Sign me up.
You talked about how the Colts and Broncos and how their schedules are very difficult or very easy. And the Seahawks it's kind of similar with the Rams as they jockey for position, because the Seahawks have a really difficult schedule here. They got some big time games coming up and then some NFC West games on top of it. And this is one of those against the Packers. I'm going to go the other way because I think the Packers are a better team playing better football. And I think 2.5 points is not quite enough and has been pointed out, maybe not the home field advantage that it has been in the past. This is not the Legion of Boom Seahawks. So give me the Packers, and I'll take I'll give up the 2.5 points on the road at the Seahawks. Home dog situation's usually pretty good, but I think there's a good reason why the Packers are favored in this one.
I understand it. Two good teams.
Yeah. We got a dual Monday night slate here. Not powerhouse matchups or anything. The first one is the Bears at the Vikings, and the Bears are going really in the tank right now while the Vikings are just cruising. But a divisional matchup. Can the Bears ruin the Vikings seeding and the quest for the Vikings could be tied for the 1 seed in the NFC after this week?
I think they blow their doors off at home. I know a team like the Bears, as bad as they played against your Niners, usually rebound and get respectable because they're not the worst team in the league. But going to Minnesota, as hot as they are right now, I think they win by 14.
I think confidence-wise, mindset-wise, where these teams are, the Bears are pretty defeated right now, and they changed head coaches and then didn't even get that extra bump. And there's more questions than answers going on in Chicago, and it's the opposite. The Vikings are flying high. They're playing really good football. They're at home in this game and have an opportunity to kind of play big brother on those Bears. I like where the Bears are headed next year. Get a good coach. I think they might be in an all right spot. The Vikings are in an all right spot already right now. And Sam Darnold playing some good ball, slinging the ball all over the place for the Vikes. So give me Minnesota. I'll give up those 7 points.
Yeah, me too.
And the Falcons are favored by 4 on the road at the Raiders. The worst team maybe in the NFL right now is the Raiders. The Falcons got to do something, and they've got to keep pace with the Buccaneers. They'll already know what the Bucs did, and this could be a huge blow if they aren't able to beat the Raiders. I don't think 4 points is enough. I think the Raiders are that bad, and the Falcons have a lot to play for right now. Kirk Cousins is the big question there right now with that offense and with that Falcons team.
And I would hope you could win by more than 4, just lean in on Bijan, kind of take the ball out of Cousins' hands. As you said, they got a lot more to play for, and they're just a lot better team. I don't think 4 is a big enough number either.
Yep, and really, you're at the point where if you lose this game, you are forced to go to Michael Penix and kind of start to pack things in and really look at yourself in the mirror if you're the Falcons, because that means you didn't have a pass rush, didn't get after the quarterback. It's not like you're going to win games in January if you make the playoffs at that rate anyway, and that means Cousins probably had another bad outing, and you got to start to go to the rookie quarterback after this week.
Yeah, otherwise, or knocking on the door.
Right, exactly. It's getting close, and people are already calling for it. And obviously, Falcons have a plan. They don't want to go there. Their hand might be forced in a primetime Monday night game if you lose to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yep, I tend to agree.
That is Week 15. Let us know what you think at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL while you're watching games. If you think of some mailbag questions, hit us up at those handles on Twitter or drop a question in the YouTube comments section. Subscribe while you're there. Matt and I back Monday to break it all down right here. Peacock and Williamson.